Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 1 of Barnstorming with Jason Ringenberg. All right, this is going to be a new video program where I talk about anything I want to, honestly. Some days I might talk about old Jason and the Scorchers memories. I might talk about history. I might talk about gardening. Who knows? But every single episode I'm going to sing at least one song, so that's going to be what ties it all together. Now I'm going to start this video program where everything in my career ends up. That, of course, is my attic. Right. This is my attic. This is where everything sort of ends up in my career. For example, here's all my stage clothes. That's right. Okay, wow. We'll probably do a whole episode about my stage wear at some point. And let's see, what else do we have here? We have, of course, all kinds of boxes of stuff, press, old photos. I was just looking for some stuff earlier, and I found this really cool scrapbook that the promoter gave us from the Australian tour in 1986. The only tour of Australia Jason and the Scorchers ever did. This has some really, really cool stuff, if you mind me showing you here. Some really interesting headlines. I really like the headlines on this. All right, let's get rid of that. All right, here's one. Booze won't stop group. I'm not sure where that came from. Meet the Milk Bar Kid. Scorch country taste to this rock. Wow. Rock fans burnt by screw up. I'm not sure what that's about. All right. All kinds of cool headlines. Australians had a great way of coming up with very cool, catchy headlines. All right. Living the notes you play. I like that. That might be a book. All right. Let's see what else we have here. On the street. All right. Let's see. Country boys survive fickle business. All right. All right. Here's one. Nice boys behind Scorchers' redneck image. Not sure where that came from. All right. Oh, here we go. 4 guys that like to rock and roll. I don't see that really selling any tickets, but anyway. Here's one I really like a lot. From the Sun Herald, May 10th, 1987. Rock's equivalent of a train crash. All right. Yep, that's the Scorchers. Rock's equivalent of a train crash. All right. So anyway, as you can see, one of the coolest things I have in the whole Jason and the Scorchers collection is this wonderful backdrop that a lady named Tracy Barton made for us back in 1982. All right? Now, that is all hand stitched. Every single stitch was done by hand by Miss Tracy. Now, Tracy first saw the Scorchers back when we were called the Nashville Scorchers. It was the very first long distance trip we did as a band. It was February 12th and 13th of 1982. We had done a few shows like in Atlanta and Athens, Louisville, Kentucky, and of course Nashville. But until that point, we haven't really driven anywhere far away. So this was our first real road trip. And we went to a place called Off the Wall Hall in Lawrence, Kansas. Now, forget the whole hall business. This wasn't a hall. It was a dive. It was an old dive. Nothing worked. But there we were for 2 nights, okay, doing 2 to 3 sets every night. Now, the first night on that February 12th gig, the very first set, there was like 5 people there when we started. One of them was Tracy Barton, Tracy Ashlock, now Tracy Barton. Tracy loved what she was seeing. She actually called all her friends, and in the second set, we had quite a few people there for the show. Tracy became a great friend of our band. Whenever we would tour in Kansas, she would help us out. She'd put us up. She'd make these great dinners for us. She sort of adopted us as you know, her little rock and roll children. It was a really cool thing. And we're still friends to this day. Tracy still comes and sees our shows. So anyway, that's a really wonderful thing. Jason and the Nashville Scorchers. Handmade. And we used that backdrop for several years. Now that night, in that very first tour we did, I just dropped my pick in my guitar. Folks, you are watching an unscripted moment. All right. There we we go. Okay, got my pick. All right. Now, during those days, in the early days of Jason and the Nashville Scorchers, one of the first songs we did was a song called Jimmie Rodgers' Last Blue Yodel. We were all Jimmie Rodgers fans. And we actually called the song "These Women Make a Fool Out of Me." That's how he titled it on the very first Jason and the Nashville Scorchers Reckless Country Soul EP, which was a 7-inch. Now, when Jimmie did it, and probably before I sing this song, let me just say a few things about Jimmie Rodgers, okay? Jimmie Rodgers was an absolute phenomenon when he came out in the 1930s. He was absolutely revolutionized American music. Before Jimmie Rodgers, most of the performers, they would get their following by just playing the circuits. You know, they would, circuits, not circus, the circuits. The vaudeville circuits, the circuits, things like that. And Rodgers was the first sort of artist to break using the new mediums of recorded music and radio. And he was an absolute sensation when he came out. Quite a story with Mr. Rodgers. He was a prodigy right from the start. At 13 years old, he was actually organizing little tours around the American South. That's right, at 13 years old, with him as the star. Now, his dad wasn't too into this whole idea of young Jimmie, traveling around the South playing shows with all these musicians. So he got him a job on one of the local railroads. This started a long process of Jimmie Rodgers working for several railroads in the American South. And he was, in fact, a brakeman for a while. He was a brakeman. And he was called the singing brakeman when he finally broke into music. Anyway, Rodgers, when he turned 27, he developed, unfortunately, tuberculosis. And he was still sort of singing on the side, but mostly he was a real railroad worker. That's what he was doing. When he developed tuberculosis, he couldn't work on the railroad anymore, so he started focusing more attention on music. Now, he ended up on those Ralph Peer sessions in Bristol, Tennessee in 1927, the sort of big bang of country music. That's where country music was created, with him and the Carter family. So after those records came out, Rodgers became a sensation around the United States. He became the biggest selling RCA Records artist. For a while, he was selling over 10% of their total catalog in sales. His 78 singles, the big singles, were selling 500,000 copies a pop. He was huge, gigantic. Now, Rodgers only had 5 years in the business. Tuberculosis gradually made it impossible for him to even tour or record. There's even some recordings of him on his very last days where he had a nurse actually helping him sit up and taking care of him as he recorded these songs. In 1933, he passed away, so he had a recording career of 6 years and left us an amazing body of work. One of them, as I said, was his song called Jimmie Rodgers' Last Blue Yodel. He sang it like this. I love the women and I love them all the same. I love the women and I love them all the same. I love the women, but not enough to give them my name. These women make a fool out of me. Yodel, yodel, yodel. Wow. Now, when the Scorchers got a hold of this, I sort of brought it to the band in our little rehearsal room there in my house on Neighborly Drive in West Nashville. And it was an immediate thing. It was one of the first songs we worked up as a band. And, the guys just kicked right into it. It was in their blood. The song was in their blood, was in their heritage. And it just fit with how they felt and how they played music. Jeff immediately started doing this sort of eighth note beat on the bass, like... Dee Ramone kind of rhythm. We also changed the key from G to A, which gave it much more of a rock and roll feel. Perry played a straight 4/4 beat with a lot of energy. Warner, of course, added that sort of Warner Hodges power and majesty that he adds to everything he does. And so the result of it was really a cool track. You can hear it on Reckless Country Soul if you can find that record. It's not on Spotify. You'll have to look it up. I definitely recommend you look it up. The Scorchers version was sort of this rhythm. Now keep in mind, of course, it's me playing acoustic guitar to Jason and the Scorchers song. So please, check out the Scorchers version of it. It's really quite good. Well, I love the women and I love them all the same. I love the women and I love them all the same. I love the women, not enough to give them my name. These women make a fool out of me. Lord, out of me. I take a girl to dinner, she hangs around my neck. Yeah, I take a girl to dinner, Lord, she hangs around my neck. She pays my taxi, she also pays my check. These women make a fool out of me. Lord, out of me. Alright, the last verse of this song, in my opinion, contains the finest rock and roll lyrics ever written. Interesting, given the song was written before the birth of rock and roll. But Rodgers nailed this last verse. It's fantastic. Well, she rubs my back with alcohol just to cure my cough. But she rubs my back with alcohol just to cure my cough. Well, I almost broke my back trying to lick the alcohol off. These women make a fool out of me. Lord, out of me. Yodel, 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 yodel. Yodel, 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 yodel. One more time. Yodel, 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 yodel. Woo! All right. Wow. What a song. Jimmie Rodgers, ladies and gentlemen. Jason and the Scorchers as well. All right. I've really enjoyed doing this. Be sure to tune in. Once a month, we're going to be releasing these Barnstorming with Jason Ringenberg episodes. Have a great day. All the best to you, and God bless.